Buenos dias, my friends, from a country that I'm super excited to share with you. Today we are in Bolivia, and I'm in the capital city of La Paz, the highest altitude capital city on the entire planet. It's really cool. You get this really epic hillside situation. You get some like, what do they call those, chairlifts going up the hill. But today we have a treat. Today we're gonna do some history and go check out one of the oldest Andes settlements that's up here in the mountains, one of the old Incan style settlements. They even predate the Incans. Very excited about it. So today we're headed to Tiwanaku in this nice bus. If you're ready for an adventure, let's get it. The main problem with going to Tiwanaku or traveling here in Bolivia is that anytime you want to go anywhere, you have to take this collective bus, and you need to wait for it to be full for them to leave. So we got here about 10 minutes ago, and as you can see, nobody's in here. How long will we wait? Because it's gonna take forever to get on that bus, I decided to take you guys for a traditional Bolivian breakfast. And the thing to eat here is the Bolivian style empanada, which they call a salteña, which looks something like this. Has kind of a brown top, very brown bottom. It's hard. It smells good though. It smells very bready. Inside you can either get a mix of chicken and beef, something called fricassee, which I think is some sort of mix of chicken, and then you can also get potatoes inside. And then also they give you a mate de coca, which is made from coca leaves. Actually, that's just sugar. Look at me, I'm an idiot. Mate de coca, which is, there we go. There it is. Which has the little coca leaves. Those are the leaves that cocaine are made from. In a tea that you can drink that's good for altitude sickness and keeps you warm in the cold Andes days. So let's try a salteña. So let's see what's inside. You guys can see a little bit of chicken, potatoes. Oh, it smells really good. Got a little like onions, maybe some garlic. I think this is the fricassee, if I had to guess. It's like chicken, but it's sweet. Bolivia is strange. Let's go to an ancient ruin. All right, so about an hour and 45-minute drive from La Paz. Here we are in the dusty, mountainous region town of Tiwanaku. If you want to go to the site, you gotta buy some tickets in this nice little building right here. It's 100 Bolivian bolivars, I think is what they call their money, Bolivianos. And that's just about 12, 13 US dollars, something like that. These little dusty snack things over here. They got a little museum that is talking about carus, or ceremonial cups, that they used to drink basically like chicha, which is like corn alcohol from. And people are dressed pretty traditionally here. Respect. Here we are, the start of Tiwanaku. So the story goes that this place was named after being the center of the earth. Something like Tiwanaku means like the central stone, or where the stone is, and stone in the Aymara culture, which is what built this, is basically supposed to be the center of the universe. So the city became the center of their entire civilization. So they think, or they've done a lot of studies for how old this place is, but they decided that this is probably from 200 AD, although the original person who looked at this in the 1940s said it was from like 11,000 BC. But people debunked that quite quickly using carbon dating. This place is so old for this region that they don't even actually know the real name of it in many ways. There's still a debate over the name, because this place was basically inhabited from 200 to about 1,000 by the people. The lake Titicaca, which is just, I believe, 20 kilometers this way, actually used to be close to this area, but a drought kind of pushed it away. So they assumed that people left because of a drought, and so people, especially people today who needed to name and understand this place, basically took a lot of the writings from the Spanish. It wasn't even named until 1549, and the name of the Spanish person that figured the name out also claimed that the name probably wasn't accurate or could be actually different. We can think of this definitely as a Stone Age settlement, and they used to use this old Andean style of interlinking stones that are actually quite big and heavy into each other. These obviously they just put up for restoration purposes. There's another one over there, but they built all of the things they built here using no cement. So that's a lot of the reason why there's not a lot left, because a lot of it was ransacked or taken down for other buildings built by the Incas, who came here in the 1400s as their empire slowly moved from central Peru to this part of Bolivia. And this entire settlement used to be something like 4.5 kilometers. So you can imagine it being one of the biggest settlements in the region, and anywhere between 10,000 to 20,000 people lived here. Now something like 800 people live in the surrounding towns and villages. So it has regressed and never gotten back to the same level. They built out the mountainside here, or the retaining walls of the settlement, using this red clay. And they also used terraces in order to grow things and to also build houses. So this could have been a place where people were living during the Roman Empire times, almost 2,000 years ago. So I know it doesn't look like much, but Tiwanaku and the Aymara people were empire builders. They were really good at art. They were really good at building things out of stone. They were really good at astrology. And so even here, this is a symbol that you find all over Bolivia. This is what they call something like this, like not the Pachacuti cross. It's a cross. It's kind of a symbol that they still use here. And you can find this in jewelry that they still make throughout the country. A lot of these smaller temples that they have here were actually aligned perfectly with the summer solstice, the winter solstice, the turning of the Milky Way galaxy. And they used to have various festivals, religious festivals, that celebrated this at various points. And people from all across the region used to come to Tiwanaku specifically to celebrate these rituals together on the days on which they decided they needed to. So in this part of Tiwanaku, you kind of have the pièce de résistance of what you can see here. You have two monoliths that they found that are kind of shaped like humans. They have this subterranean temple with little faces that we'll look at in a second. And then they have this very famous gate, which we'll get closer to in a second, which is the Gate of the Sun. It's kind of the opening to the ancestral kind of homeland of the Aymara people. Down here is really cool because you can see the best example of this sort of interlocking stonework, where they take stones of various shapes and sizes, but they all carve them so they fit together perfectly, like a perfect little puzzle. And here you can see the goofy little faces that they've got here. Are they gods? Are they people? Are they both? I don't know. So this massive structure here is called the Kalasasaya temple. And this is one of the major arches that you can find, a really good example of the stonework that they were able to do. And a lot of people are still debating how they were able to move such large stones without advanced technology. So maybe they knew things that we didn't know they knew. You know, if you want to sit down over here, you know, they don't bring in plastic. They just take little wooden stumps, make little wooden stump chairs. This big temple in English is also called the Temple of the Standing Stones, and it was built specifically around like 500 to 600 AD to monitor the stars. If you read a lot of blogs or things online about Tiwanaku, they say, you don't necessarily need to waste your time coming here. It's not very impressive. You're not going to see a lot. There's not much that remains. And, you know, that may be true, but that's not what history is about. And those people who have those opinions bother me, because this is like the center of an ancient society, an ancient people who for nearly 1,000 years had their own religion, their own culture, their own food, their own building style, their own rituals, and all of this stuff that's so important to who we are as people. So yeah, I mean, now, you know, there's a, you know, it's a wall, and here they have a little, you know, a little drainage area for the water that comes off. And that's about all that stands, kind of, from what would have been a very epic site. But it's really the deeper things, the deeper connections, the things that take a little bit of thinking and a little bit of reflection. The fact that these people were children of the stars, you know, they we're able to look up there and create things down here to represent the alignment and the systematic approach to it all. It's very impressive. And for people that aren't impressed by stones, I say read a book. Come on, man. Also in a kind of sad sense, but kind of ironic, you know, you have these buildings that are built in the more modern style, but these sort of brick buildings that they've built, the little dusty kind of, you know, what I consider a very small town of small dreams, small living, you know, very farm life. It's not much more advanced than what they were building nearly 2,000 years ago. So, and the scale of what's here is much more impressive than this little Residencial Cortes, or this building that is a government office. I don't know. And here in front of us, some might say the most impressive thing to see here, although it's hard with the sun, is the gate of the sun. And on the top here, there's a carving of Pachamama, or the central kind of deity figure in the religions of this region. And when it was found, it was actually cut in 2 pieces, and they obviously put it back together. But they have pictures from 1903 when it was found before Reconstruction, which are actually quite cool. So this guy is called Estela Ponce, and he is very cool. He's got a lot of stuff going on. First of all, it's got carvings all over it with like little pictograms, gods on the back, but the most interesting stuff is actually on the front. This guy, in both of his hands, on one side, he's holding the sort of traditional vessel which they drink chicha from, and it's on this side. It's kind of hard to see in the sun, but on the other side he's holding a snuff tablet, which is what they used to take psychedelic drugs from. So this guy is kind of like the central figure for any sort of Andes religion. Chicha on the one side, psychoactive drugs on the other, and then gods painted all on this man. Very cool in this subterranean temple. You know, guys, there's this theory that humans' brain size doubled in the matter of like 100,000 years due to the use of psychoactive drugs and psychotropic drugs, like mushrooms and ayahuasca and stuff like that. And it's interesting because when I continue to go to a lot of these older sites, this is almost 2,000 years old, and we went to a place in Greece that was 4,000 years old. They both had remnants in their ancient sort of pagan religions of psychotropic drug use and sort of identifying the gods. So I think that kind of goes together in a very interesting way. As a last little note before we get out of here, I am always glad that these civilizations built stuff out of stone. Of course, that's why it's called the Stone Age, but it's so we can enjoy it today as people from the future. So here's another Estela Fraile, and again another good example of the cup he has in one hand and the snuff box he has in the other. And it's just so epic that these carvings, they still exist, they're still studyable, they're still accessible, and that you can bring people here and we can learn from what happened in the past. So I think that's going to be it for Tiwanaku. We might go into the little city over there, but the exit is right there.
Corazón, compadécete de mí. Si tú tienes corazón, compadécete de mí.